Imagine walking into a high-stakes job interview, and before you even sit down, the recruiter knows exactly how much you hated your last boss and the minimum salary you'd actually accept just to pay your rent. Imagine a car dealership where the salesman can see the precise number sitting in your checking account, and you can see that the shiny SUV on the lot has a transmission that's about to fail in 3 months. We like to think the economy is built on hard work and innovation, but the truth is much stranger. Our entire world runs on a fragile, invisible pillar called information asymmetry. It's a fancy way of saying that I know something you don't, and that's how I make a profit. But tomorrow morning, that pillar is going to crumble. Tomorrow, the Great Unveiling begins, and suddenly, everyone on Earth can read minds. You might think this sounds like a superpower, but for the global economy, it's an extinction-level event. The silence of your inner thoughts is the only thing keeping the stock market from hitting zero by noon. Meet Elias. Elias is an ordinary guy who spent his 20s making $68,000 a year and his 30s trying to figure out why that never felt like enough. He spent years building a career in corporate consulting, a job that basically requires him to look confident while hiding the fact that he's often just as confused as his clients. On the morning of the unveiling, Elias is sitting in a coffee shop, preparing for a negotiation. He's wearing a sharp blazer he bought on sale to look like he earned 6 figures, even though his savings account currently holds exactly $214. He's performing wealth, a strategy he's used for a decade. But as he waits for his latte, the wall in his head simply vanishes. It's not a sound, but a flood. He hears the barista's exhaustion, the quiet desperation of the woman in the corner worrying about her student loans, and the jagged, aggressive greed of the man in the suit next to him. The first thing Elias notices isn't the social awkwardness. It's the immediate death of commerce. He watches a man try to buy a used laptop from someone at a nearby table. Usually this is a dance of bluffs and hagglings. But now the buyer knows the seller spilled water on the keyboard last week, and the seller knows the buyer has an extra $50 in his pocket he's trying to hide. The transaction stops before it even starts. Why would you buy something when you can see the regret the seller is already feeling? This is the problem that starts to ripple across the entire planet within the first hour. Our economy is a game of poker where everyone is suddenly forced to play with their cards face up. When you can see every lie, every shortcut, and every hidden defect, the concept of perceived value disappears. By midday, the stock market doesn't just dip, it stops. In our world, a trillion-day bank transfer or a massive stock trade is a weather event that moves the price because people are guessing at the intent behind the money. But when everyone can read the mind of the person selling, the mystery is gone. If a CEO plans to dump shares because he knows the next quarterly report is a disaster, every single person on Earth knows it the second he thinks it. There is no one left to buy the dip because the dip isn't a secret anymore. Trading halts globally, not because of a technical glitch, but because the systemic nature of the market requires a certain level of ignorance to function. You can't sell a dream if everyone can see the nightmare you're having. Elias walks out of the coffee shop and sees the chaos unfolding in the streets. He sees people at every salary level having a collective breakdown. The person earning $20 an hour who used to feel a quiet shame at the grocery store when their card declined suddenly realizes that the person behind them isn't judging them. Instead, they're feeling the same crushing weight of the loop. Work, pay, survive, repeat. The shame of being broke was a secret, but now it's a shared frequency. On the other end of the scale, the millionaires are losing their minds. Their wealth was their distance, a way to buy silence and isolation. But now their fleece and Honda Pilot armor, the stealth wealth they used to move through the world undetected, is useless. People don't see the car anymore. They see the zeros in the bank account, and the requests for seed capital and small favors start arriving like a telepathic roar. Elias tries to go to his office, but the building is a ghost town. How can a marketing firm exist when no one can be fooled? You can't write a mission statement about saving the world when the public can feel the board of directors only caring about the dividend. The entire performance of wealth is dead. Every luxury brand, every status symbol, and every polished corporate image is revealed as a hollow shell. Elias sits on a park bench and watches a vending machine. He remembers a story he heard about a silent millionaire who built a fortune on things like this: uninteresting, unglamorous assets that solve basic human problems. He realizes that in a world of total transparency, the only things that still have value are the things that don't have a mind to read. The vending machine doesn't lie. It doesn't have a hidden agenda. You put in $1, it gives you a water. It's honest architecture. Elias starts to see a new economy forming in the wreckage. It's an economy of pure utility. In the old world, we paid for the brand, the feeling, and the secret. In the mind-reading world, we only pay for the result. The coin laundromat, the municipal parking lot, the plumbing repair, these things don't rely on information asymmetry. They rely on the fact that people always need to wash their clothes and fix their pipes, regardless of what they're thinking. The boring portfolio that his accountant once called uninteresting is now the only thing that's still solvent. As the days pass, the struggle changes. Elias realizes that building wealth in this new world isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It's about being the most reliable. When everyone can see your intentions, your reputation isn't something you manage. It's something you are. The turning point for Elias comes when he visits his mother. She's worried about a leaking roof, just like she was years ago. In the old world, Elias might have hesitated, running the math of his own debt versus her need, feeling a quiet shame spiral about his stability. But now she can see his heart. She can feel the "I'll take care of it" before he even says the words. There is no hesitation because there is no hidden cost. The wealth he's been trying to build, the real wealth, isn't a number. It's the capacity to show up for people without it costing his own stability. This is the breakthrough. The new economy isn't about reach or market cap anymore. It's about truth-based utility. The salary levels we used to obsess over, the jump from 35,000 to 100,000, don't mean the same thing when the prestige is stripped away. At $100,000, you're no longer rich to your family, you're just someone with more options. And in a world of mind readers, those options are transparent. If you use your money to buy distance, people feel the coldness of that distance. If you use it to build systems that help, they feel the warmth of that help. The loneliness of wealth building, that draft from a window you can't locate, starts to disappear because the gap is finally being bridged by radical honesty. The impact of this shift is profound. We stop investing in growth. That is actually just a faster version of a lesson we're about to learn. We stop financing BMWs at 7% interest to impress people whose minds we can now read, only to find out they were never looking at us anyway. They were too busy worrying about their own transmissions. The architecture of our lives becomes more important than the appearance. We start thinking in years, not 30-day cycles, because when you can see the future intentions of everyone around you, you realize that the only person you can truly manage is yourself. Elias looks at his spreadsheet one last time. The $214 is still there, but the everything else column of his spending has been slashed to zero. He doesn't need the blazer. He doesn't need the status subscriptions. He needs a foundation that can hold weight. He realizes that the richest people in this new world aren't the ones with the most zeros, but the ones whose inner thoughts match their outer actions. They are the ones who don't have to hide because there's nothing to find. As the sun sets on the first week of the unveiling, the world is quieter. The stock tickers are still frozen, and the malls are half empty, but something else is growing. It's a slow, steady hum of people doing math at kitchen tables, making decisions not for applause, but for proof of concept. The economy is no longer a weather event of chaotic greed. It's becoming a system of simple, unglamorous truths. You realize that wealth was never about the number on the screen. It was about the architecture of your choices. It was about the quiet satisfaction of a system running the way you built it to run, without drama, without a performance, and finally, without the need for secrets. The future is no longer something happening to you. It's something you've finally started to build, with a mind that's as clear as your bank account.